Day 9 of building this channel like a startup while growing my startup granted. Today I studied Obsidian, two founders, no VCs, with a very small team, and they were able to grow their product to over 1 million users. What they did completely flips everything that we are told about startups, and I'm stealing their playbook. As I said earlier, there's a lot to learn from this Obsidian story. For those of you who do not know Obsidian, they are a note-taking app. So Obsidian in itself is a note-taking app, and these two founders built this company in 2020. And they've been able to, in 5 years, they've been able to amass users of over 1 million. And these are some of the strategies that they put in place to achieve it. The first one that we want to highlight, which is not the typical advice that we hear when it comes to building a startup or scaling a startup, is that they were anti-VC from day one. Like from day one, they set their focus to be profitable and not take any external funding or VC money. And they've been able to do this and grow the product in 5 years to 1 million users. This tells me a lot. Like, I didn't anticipate that a company that started in 5 years, in a space of 5 years, can actually grow to amass this number of users without necessarily putting in external funding and being able to bootstrap the company to this level. So I think that most of the narratives that we hear out there are the narratives of people raising funds, and that is what Silicon Valley glorifies. So that's what the news agencies or the media is publishing to us. Therefore, those of us who are coming up and are building startups are always looking up to things like that. The next funding round. Let me go look for funding. Where do I get funding from? But some of the stories that I've been analyzing over the past couple of days is kind of showing me a trend that is usually not in the mass media. Like, they're not telling us about these other companies that are not raising funds and are still doing well. So there's a story here that the fact that you haven't raised funds or you haven't gotten any funding does not mean that you're not going to be able to succeed. And this is a company that set out to do exactly that. Let's not go for any VC's money. Let's stay profitable. Let's make as much money from this product as we can. The next strategy that they use is focusing on power users first. If you talk about a note-taking app, almost everybody in the world takes notes. So I would say that almost everybody in the world should ideally be their user or a customer that they will pursue. But they decided to use a different approach. Don't go after the masses, go after specific users. So they built this note-taking app specifically for technical people. And the reality is that in 2020, before they came, there were a host of other note-taking apps. Personally, I was using an app called Evernote even before 2020. So Evernote has been a big player in the market, and I believe that there were a lot of other big players when it comes to note-taking. In fact, even the various phones that we use come with their own default note-taking apps. So for them to have carved out a niche for themselves in terms of the niche users or the users, the target users that they're going to look for, that was really great to know, especially when you know that a product can serve the masses. The product that you're building can actually serve everybody. To be able to say to yourself that I'm not going to target everybody, that I'm going to look specifically for this group of people and target them, I believe that was genius and something that we need to learn from. The next one is that they allow the community to build features for them. What this means is that what I found out was that they have built this note-taking app and they keep adding features to it, but then they have also made the community, and you remember I said they are focusing on technical people, so developers alike are the ones using the product, and they allow them to build plugins that will extend the functionality of their platform. And as at now, when I did the research, they have over 1,700 plugins. This means that about 1,700 new or additional features that others have built into their platform for free, because they are not paying these developers to do these plugins for them. Yes, some of these plugins maybe okay, with what I read, most of these plugins are free to use. So it means that the developers are themselves users of the platform and they feel empowered to also add features onto their platform. So that's also a very good approach that they use that I think we can learn a thing or two from. After this, I'll try and reflect on how I can implement some of these and how you as well could potentially implement some of these strategies in your work. When it comes to pricing, a lot of the information that I read about them seems that their pricing is pretty simple, straightforward. But when I started digging deep, I found out that there's a lot of complexity in there, but then to the end user, it is pretty simple depending on what you want. So for instance, they have what they call the sync feature. And if you want the sync feature, what their platform does is that it allows you to create notes and have your files all connected, but then it's on your local device. So if you're using one device, all the notes that you are taking is on just that device. If you have multiple devices and you want to sync them, that's when they now have that sync feature or functionality, and it's a premium functionality for you to pay for it. I don't know how many users are paying, but for as long as they are profitable, I want to believe that people are actually paying for it. They have a couple of other functionalities or features that are also gated, but I came to understand that they had the $4 price point and the $8 per month price point. And looking at the pricing strategy in terms of what they offer in the $4 and the $8, it was very interesting that from $4 to $8, that's just two-factor multiplication. But then in terms of the features, you would see that they actually give you like 10 factor. So what that means is that if your $4 is giving you 1 gig of storage, your $8 will give you 10 gig of storage. And I feel that psychologically, it will make more users want to pay $8. Even though they feel that this is not expensive because $4 is not expensive, like a cup of coffee, you are getting a product or that functionality for the cost of a cup of coffee, right? So people would feel that it is not expensive, but at the point where they're about to take the decision or they're about to take out their credit card and make the payment, they would contemplate between the two prices and think about it like this is just a multiplication of two, but then it gives me times 10 of the functionalities. And this is something that I think that some of us need to also still and use in our own. So reflecting on what we are building at Granted, for those of you who do not know, we are building Granted Tech, a platform to streamline the entire end-to-end process of grant seeking. And I would do a more detailed deep dive into our platform itself. But as a startup founder, my co-founder and myself are we've launched the MVP not too long ago, and we now have users coming in and we are trying to grow the platform. So one of my goals in studying these startups daily is to be able to pick up some of the strategies and also even in terms of features or growth hacks that they use to be able to scale to these massive valuations, or even not just valuations, the ability to make the product or the company sustainable, to learn as much from these for us to be able to also grow our company. So in terms of using the various strategies that Obsidian used, here are a few things that I'm thinking about. One, Obsidian actually focused on power users. So what we can do, and this is something that is challenging my thoughts right now, because at the point our vision has been to democratize grant seeking so that anybody at all should be able to get the grants that they deserve, right? Using the platform that we're building, we're going to make it so simple that everybody at all should be able to do it. But looking at the strategy that Obsidian used, I'm beginning to rethink this process. Is it a right approach? Should we rather focus on the more serious grant writers? Maybe we should have a focus on people that the Obsidian team called as their power users. Maybe we should identify who our power users are and focus on them. And currently, I know that my co-founder is doing a lot of great work coming up with partnerships that is going to help us do that. But I see the synergy here. In our case, being able to identify these power users would help us get feedback and help us iteratively improve on our product as fast as possible. So that was a very good highlight for me to now rethink. Instead of focusing on everyone and going after everyone, we just focus on people who are serious about grants. So maybe not focusing on people who apply for grants maybe once in every 5 years or once every year, but rather the people who are living and breathing grant application. I think if we focus on those ones based on the story that we're learning or the lessons we're learning from Obsidian, that is going to go a long way for us. And we're going to try that at least for the next couple of months to focus on these people. The next thing is the community driven growth. So they empowered people, then allowed people to build features into this. I don't know how well that fits into our platform, but I'm beginning to also think about what other approaches can we use. And some of the other platforms that I've already reviewed and talked about in videos, like for instance Canva also did a similar approach. Notion, like almost all of them had a way to leverage their community to build something or to help them grow. So it is one of the things that I'm thinking heavily around right now. How can we leverage the community that we're building around the product? In the first place, we need to focus on how to build a community around the product. So from yesterday, one of the research that I've been doing is to try to find out how or where people who are seeking grants are hanging around, hanging out and complaining. If I get to understand that ecosystem and we'll be able to come up with strategies to build community, then based on that, when we come to understand the needs of the community, hopefully we'll be able to come up with strategies that would also help with this community driven growth approach. So something that I'm highlighting, and I'm going to look forward to ways to implement it. The next thing is simple, sustainable pricing. I think that there are $4, $8 straight, and also even how they structure the package is really, really good and eye-opening for us. For now, at least with the market that we are entering, we have like one of the most affordable costs out there. And hence, I could say that we are also following this approach with a simple, sustainable pricing, but eventually we'll still have to review it as we do our back and forth with our customers, as people are beginning to use it and give us feedback. And as we improve upon it, we're going to have to also keep updating or keep rethinking how we are approaching it. One of the key things that we are doing right now or thinking about right now actively is that we have a subscription package, but we are also thinking of the possibility of pay as you go. And looking at how simple this is, I don't know if we should still do our pay as you go or pay as you go service or stick to just the subscription service. But really, really insightful to know that people have simple pricing like that. And I'm glad that we are also following suit with simple pricing assistance now. The next point is the no VC or anti VC strategy and having no investor pressure. I know that a lot of the time when somebody puts their money in your company, they are looking for results. And it is good. I'm not saying that results, people who are forcing you to get results is bad. But at certain points in times, the focus on the results is more on the financial side. It's not necessarily the impact on your users or how well your users are being served. I understand that if we serve our users better, we're going to get more money. If you get more money, if you have investors, investors are going to benefit from you having more money. But what we're learning from them is the fact that even without investment or external investment of any sort, they were still able to build a product that their users champion, their users like so much, and they've been able to grow to this number of users. So the lesson I'm taking from here is the fact that even if we haven't gotten investment, we should be able to still build a solid and sustainable product. And hopefully we are able to do that. Then one thing that I want to highlight is the fact that I started creating content on this channel. In fact, I created this new channel just for the sake of being able to share with you all these lessons that I'm learning and also the various experiments, the things that I'm trying out and how it turns out. And in the course of last week, I decided that I was going to take this more serious and be able to do this daily analysis. So make a public commitment to doing this. Hence, I'm treating the channel as a startup in itself and being able to grow the channel as well as use or leverage everything that I'm doing in this channel to also grow our startup. So in analyzing all these startups, some of the things that I'm going to do is to draw the lines. Where are the synergies or parallels between the lessons that I'm learning, and how do I apply some of these lessons to growing this channel? In fact, as I am recording this video, I have only 21 subscribers on this channel, and I feel that there's a long way to go, and I'm happy to learn, make mistakes, do the corrections, and document every single thing so that I would be able to share this lesson with anyone who is happy to learn. So one of the things that I'm looking for is now targeting the power users. So instead of giving or thinking about everybody as my target audience for this channel, I should rather look at people who are interested in this sort of daily analysis that I'm doing and focus on just those people, making sure that I am giving or delivering value to you all. And I hope that if you're watching and you've watched to this point, you're actually gaining value from me explaining, not necessarily sharing with you what I know, but also trying to figure out everything that I know with you. Also looking at being able to produce quality content here over via rates. In fact, my end goal is that you and I who come together as a community in this form will be able to grow and get better at building businesses. And finally, also looking at building sustainable revenue model, which I am not too sure how we're going to handle that, but at least being able to grow the channel. So right now, the primary means are this YouTube channel, and I also create it as a blog post on Medium. So hopefully I'm able to build it to sustainable revenue state, like being able to make some money from it and sustaining the channel so that I get the energy to keep doing this every day, because at least the research takes some time and also recording and editing takes some time. But if you enjoy this content and you want to see more of it, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. And also, if there's any other startup that you think is fascinating, you want me to do a deep dive into, please drop it in the comments. If you're building your own startup and you have any recommendations, any challenges that you're also facing, we are here to learn together with one another and also to encourage one another. So go ahead and drop your comment and I'll be happy to read and respond to you. Thank you. Don't forget to give the video a thumbs up, and I'll see you in tomorrow's video. Until then, bye bye for now.